Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining today's session on empowering educators with effective habits for student success. As teachers, we all know that each action we take has the potential to shape our students' learning experiences in meaningful ways. My goal for this session is to provide you with certain strategies which you are already aware and insights to build effective habits that not only enhance your teaching, but also brings more fulfillment to your professional life. Now, I'm not going to say that the same method will work for all of us here, dynamic educators. This isn't actually a one-size-fits-all approach. Each of us brings unique strengths and styles to our classrooms, and our habits should support our individual teaching journeys in a way that feels natural and effective. Before we dive in, let me narrate a story. In grade 11, I had a transformative experience with my English teacher. Thus, that experience enabled me to, or let me say, decided that I will become a teacher. Miss Richards, who was my core English teacher, she inspired me to such an extent. Before this particular event, people were just criticizing that, you are not able to do, you will not be able to achieve things in life, etc. But this journey, this particular event actually transformed me totally. One day, she asked me to present my essay. The subject was core English in front of the class. So far ridiculed, so far made fun of Mary Joseph. Then it was Mary Joseph. I stood there. My heart was racing. My palms were sweating, and I was racing for criticism. To my surprise, once I read my essay, I still remember it was something about the dowry system. Miss Richards praised my writing and highlighted my strengths and potential. I got a certificate also for that particular Code English essay. She found in me something which no other teacher so far had seen. Her encouragement opened my eyes to the power of belief and support in a student's life, in an individual's life. I realized how impactful it is for someone to recognize and nurture potential in others. We are also open to criticism. We are also open, so generous in pointing the finger to the other person. Rather, I realized that day when, somebody praises you, somebody realizes your strength, it motivated me to create a similar environment for my future students. I have a couple of my colleagues who were with me in Kuwait. In Kuwait, we have actually, left an impact. We have moved back. We are back in India. We have actually created an impact which before us, not many Indian teachers were able to do, because we found in our students the potential. We all wanted to inspire our students to embrace creativity, to find out their talents and share their unique voices. Just as Ms. Richards did for me, I aspired, whether it was in India, Kuwait, now back home, to help my students become the captains of their own ships, fostering a love for learning, a belief in their abilities, and the reason that education transforms all of us. They should be able to find out that education is compulsory, is essential, but the right kind of essential education where everyone values you, respects you. We've always heard, give respect, get respect. Don't demand for respect. This is what I always tell my students. You give respect, you will get respect. But if you're going to say, I am your teacher, respect me, that's not happening. So today, we are going to see how we are going to make others empowered and how you are also going to be empowered. So let's move forward. Now, the first thing, let's look at the habits. And I'm sure most of you already know. I'm not giving you something which is new. something which is, written off Mary Sebastian's book. No, this is something we all know. We are just going to brush them up. The other day, somebody asked me, Miss Mary, a grade 5 student, Miss Mary, after a couple of years, we will not have teachers teaching, we'll have robots teaching. Absolutely. But robots cannot find, the value of a person. Robots cannot find, the hidden talent of a person. For that, we need human beings. We need teachers like you and me. So let's look at the habits. The first one is start with strengths. Like Miss Richards found out my strength. I don't think it was a big deal for the others, but for me, definitely. It gave me the impetus. Yes, you are important. You are valued. Your voice matters. I don't know what I talked about dowry. I'm absolutely against dowry, and I'm not going to say what was there. I still don't remember. It was decades ago. But Miss Richards found that. So do you know that our minds, actually are focused on the negative? So when she asked me to read my essay, I thought it was only for criticism because that's what I always had from the others there. But here, the criticism was not there. She actually helped me to overcome my fear and focus on my strength, both my own, and now I am focusing on the strengths of my students. There are many times, when I ask students, how do we do this? How do I do this? Can you teach me? And you will see, I'm sure each one of you here, when you ask your students for some guidance, they feel important. So we are trying to enable people to grow as leaders and eventually grow as teams. So this approach actually helps everyone to exceed. Start with your strengths rather than your weaknesses. So, and when you start with your strength, you see what are my strengths and how can I use them to succeed today. The failure part will come later. So start with your strength. The next one is discover your why. Connect to my why. I'm sure many of us here, teaching was probably not your first choice. Definitely not my first choice. But, once you discover, once you connect to your why, everything falls in place. So as Simon Sinek, a famous optimist, actually said, why is crucial before finding out the what and the how. So remember, the why are you here? Just not to see, what Mary is going to do today, but you are here to see, why this session is being conducted. Once you understand why the session is being conducted, the what and the how will come later. I think about the amazing people in my life who have inspired me. Starting from my parents, and a lot of credit to my parents for what I'm today. For my family here, my spouse, my two children, my colleagues who are here, just a message from them, I sent to them, and they're all here to support me. So this is, the purpose. Once I discovered it, the purpose is very important. So in spite of facing challenges, we kept going. When I moved to Kuwait 2001, I was the first batch of Indian teachers there to teach in the Ministry of Education. There was a purpose why I'm here. I was the Indian ambassador. Many of us are the Indian ambassadors abroad, not ambassadors and, living in the Indian embassy, but ambassadors of our teaching profession. So once you connect to your why, everything else falls in place. What can I achieve when I connect to my why? So please identify your why. The next one is you have to look for potential. Potential students don't come to you. We have to go and look for them. We have to go and search for them. I can very proudly, and I feel totally blessed. Many of my students are really doing so well. I have, right now I'm teaching in 21K school, and I have Kia Hatkar, who's now in grade 8. Then she was in grade 6. An SMA student who is the Bree Books bestseller in India. And her books were launched in Bristol, in Oxford University, etc. We have to look for the potential. There is nothing impossible. Each and every child has some potentiality, which needs to be, you have to just get that potential. Tell the child is able to do it. The student is able to do it. When we do that, the student feels important. Like I felt important when Miss Richards asked me to read the essay in grade 11. So let's look for the potentials. Let's make sure that, each and every child realizes that, there is something there that the child can do, the student can do. There are a lot of hidden possibilities. We have to capture these hidden possibilities and get it to the students, making them realize that, they have the potential where they, will be able to make an indelible mark in the community. So how can I help them? How can you teachers who are here, how can you help them realize their potential? Next one is a very essential, and we've been taught right from our childhood: adopt an attitude of gratitude. Be grateful. When I focus on gratitude, if you actually write a list of, just start writing, whom do I owe everything to? To whom should I be grateful? The list will be endless. There'll be, one, two, three, it will be an endless. This is something we have to inculcate first in ourselves. I repeat, in ourselves. Please be grateful. Grateful for your students, grateful for being a teacher, grateful to your teachers, grateful to your parents, to your colleagues. So adopt an attitude of gratitude. When I focus on gratitude, I notice a change in my perspective totally. Being grateful. So one message, so many people join. Being thankful for what I have, no matter what the situation. We've all had adverse situations in life. But let's not go into the negative part of it. But ultimately, we are here. So no matter what the situation is, once you accept the situation, it leads to greater happiness. If a teacher is happy, the class is happy. If a teacher is unhappy, the class is totally unhappy. If a teacher is in a bad mood, the class is also going to be in a bad mood. Every time you enter a class, thank God I have a class to teach. Thank God I have 30 students to teach. Let me make a change. So adopt an attitude of gratitude. The next is, we are all worrying about syllabus. These days, we just finished with our summative assessment one. We are all, thinking about syllabus has to be completed. So in my teaching throughout my career, I noticed that schools often focus on learning, that is the head. It is important to remember the head is important. Similarly, feelings are also important. The heart is also important. And the head and the heart wants to work together with the hands. So an empowering question to each one of you: how can you use your passion, that is your heart, your knowledge, that is your head, and experience to create positive actions, that is the hands, with your students today? I'll leave you with that. Just think about it. How can your heart, your head, and your hand work together to create a better society, to create global citizens, to create a learning society? I know a lot of teachers, who after their B.Ed and their M.Ed and 20 years of experience, they say, now we are done. We don't want to learn anything. What more can you teach me? The pandemic actually was a wake-up call for all of us. Teacher and a novice, both were in the same boat. We all started learning and see where we are today. So give yourself some credit. Give yourself some credit. The next one is, we all need to listen to others. We all need
Miss Mary, are you there?
They want just to be talking, and you have to be having the only one person talking and then it's done. So listen, to people, share your stories also, because each and every story is meaningful. Each and every story, we learn something. Our parents taught us. So we've learned from their experiences. We are teaching our children from our experiences. So these are stories. I'm sure many times, we have told our parents, Dad, please don't start your story again. But definitely that story was important for them the way our stories are important to us. So we need people in our lives who will listen to us, honor our stories, and we listen to their stories. So definitely, teachers are actually great storytellers and people to listen to stories. How many times students have come and told, Mary ma'am, I want to show you something. I did this today. Listen to them because that's why they're sharing to you. So we all need people to listen to our stories and please honor their stories. As I told you, 19 glorious years I was in Kuwait. And, I did a lot of, conducted classes, sessions, etc. One thing I understood there was that we are all unique. We are all different. Now, I have Elizabeth here, we were the only two Indians in one particular school, which was only filled with Arab students, Arab teachers. But I'm sure, and I can be very sure, we left an indelible mark in that community there. People knew us, but but we welcomed, every student. So there was, we were celebrating diversity. So we were partaking in all their celebrations. We also got celebrations which they had not known about. So just remember, we as teachers, we celebrate diversity. I'm teaching in 21K school where we have students of special needs also. It's such a beautiful thing to see when the students are integrated in the mainstream classes. We do not come to know, the other students do not come to know this particular child is a special needs child. They acknowledge, they welcome, they reciprocate the feeling. So let's celebrate diversity, which is absolutely, essential. Let's leave our biases outside the door. Never carry these biases. As teachers, I'm sure, we don't want to fail. One thing I will give you the example of grade 5. I find these primary students very bubbly, they always say that, parents never say sorry. Parents never accept that they have made mistakes. I, as a parent also, I'm sure I've never, I probably would not be very willing to, say, okay, I made a mistake. The moment you embrace your failure, and somebody actually taught me, fail is the first attempt in learning. So the moment you embrace your failures, you will start realizing, after all, we are all human beings. We are not artificial intelligence. We are not robots. So we will make mistakes. Accept your mistakes. I was reading a book by, Dr. Carl. She's an American, Carol, she's an American psychologist. And she says that, if you see failure as a setback, you will never succeed. But if you see failure as a part of learning, you will always succeed. So please try to embrace your failures and be willing to accept, yes, I made a mistake. When we are in a class, we see children with different mood swings, different, the nature, each and every child is different. What we see is behavior. A child is aggressive, a child is yelling, a child is, probably in an angry mood. Look beneath that. So many times people have said, what happened? You're not in okay today. There are a lot of things that are hidden which we don't like to show to the world. So probably I would get angry with you. I would yell at you. I would ask the class to keep quiet. Look beneath that. Probably you are anxious. You're hungry. You're angry. You're stressed. So the same thing we have to see in our students. Look beneath, what we see is behavior. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Look beneath the surface. Help students activate internal resources. Each and every child is a gift from God. When we had children, we all celebrated them. The same way, the children that are there, students that are there in their class, in your class, celebrate them, let them realize what they are capable of. As teachers, whichever grade you are teaching, It is your duty to motivate them to speak out, motivate them to share, motivate them to realize what is their purpose in life, what are they good at, what is their failure, what is the setback that they, what is the negative thing that they can work. Teachers, a humble request to all of you that, realize that teaching is the profession that creates other professions. So don't say, oh, I have the same duty. Each day should be a new day. Each day should be a challenge. So when you tell your students, you engage your students, you empower your students, you yourself are being empowered. I'm sure many of us in our BEd, we heard, that, you teach a person to fish instead of just giving them a fish to eat. That has been always what I do. Tell them this is how it is. Now you do it yourself. When we were in Kuwait, we did not know the Arabic, the language Arabic. We had to literally be like small children, young children, learning to go to and get our things. The same way, each and every teacher who's here right now today, please enable your students, to fish for themselves rather than give them something on the golden platter, because that's very easily accepted. Finally, I would like to say, remember, when you educate one person, you can change a life. When you educate many, you can change the world. We always talk about what's happening to the world. Where is the world going? We have to accept the world, good or bad, we are here to stay. And I am here to stay to mark, to make my mark. I have to carve a mark, I have to show the world, yes, you have made a difference. Finally, one last word I would like to say, with my 3 decades of experience, I think I can say that your actions are changing the world, one student at a time. Don't think, I'm going to change the whole world and everything is going to be very peaceful. You can't do it. Take one student at a time. One student, then the entire class gets empowered. One student, the entire family gets empowered. So congratulations, teachers. The very fact that you are here, I'm sure your actions are going to change the world. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining my session. To all my friends in the Middle East, to Liz in particular, thank you so much for joining. To Praveena for giving me this opportunity the third time to share my thoughts. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless everyone.
Miss Mary, wonderful presentation, ma'am. Yeah, if you can, right. You have stopped sharing your screen. I'll ask the participants, like if they have any questions, they can unmute themselves and, start the Q&A session, please. Any questions? No questions at all?
When there are no questions, that means the teacher, what she taught was not particularly, it was something. Thank you, Vinci, for the compliment.
No, definitely ma'am, one question from my side. We have discussed about the students, right? So how do you recommend educators prioritize self-care and stress management to maintain their own well-being while supporting students, ma'am?
Because I am basically a workaholic and, probably 8 to 10 hours, I am actually right in front of the screen. Remember, if you fall sick, school will continue. Nobody can replace you. That's something which, somebody taught me recently. So take time to care for yourself. Take time to follow your passion. Take time to watch whatever you want to watch. These days, it's 1 week of holiday for me. I have just been watching back to back. I've been watching English series, going out. I went out yesterday. Take care of yourself. Please pamper yourself. There is only one Simi. There is only one Samantha. There is only one Sylvie. Only one Mary Sebastian. Take care of yourself. Self-care is mandatory. Please, it's mandatory. Take care. Pamper yourself. Take your breaks. Take a chill pill, as they say, take a chill pill. Definitely take a chill pill. Never compromise on yourself. Remember, we are all replaceable. Today you quit the job, there'll be 10 people waiting in the line. But today, if you don't take care of yourself, there is nobody to replace you. So take care of yourself.
Right. So, discussing about effective habits, again, for the educators, I'm asking, ma'am, what role does mindfulness play in building effective habits for educators, and how can they incorporate it into their daily routine?
First, I would like to find out, what mindfulness here. Mindfulness has a lot of different meanings. It's actually, I feel that, these days it's been practiced so much among educators, etc. You become aware of the present moment without judgment. For me, that is mindfulness. And it is a practice that has helped me become more self-aware. I have felt calmer, and I have coped with difficult thoughts. So for me, mindfulness, it's actually, let me say, a type of meditation where you focus on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and feeling the moment. Every class enjoy that moment. I have seen so many teachers, wondering, oh, I have another class after this. What am I going to do there? Enjoy the moment. That is mindfulness. Nothing else. I do not go by the Oxford or the Chambers dictionary meaning. Mindfulness for me is enjoy the moment, live for today. As somebody rightfully told me, don't talk about the past, live for today. That is mindfulness.
So, coming to student success strategies, ma'am, in your vast experience, what innovative approaches did you use to engage students in setting and achieving academic goals?
Nothing, Pravina, actually nothing. In fact, I start with my story where as I just mentioned my story, I was an average, in fact, a below average student in my school. And everyone actually would just point fingers, but there was one thing that, I realized when I took the teaching profession, I am not going to treat my students how I was treated. So what we are doing is I just give the students an opportunity, a space. And I can very proudly say today I have almost 42 students who are bestsellers in pre-books and international book writing. I have students who are actually in the Ministry of Education as teachers in Kuwait. I have doctors there. I have police. I was at the airport when I was leaving Kuwait for good. I had a couple of them coming and saying that, ma'am, you taught us in the university. So for me, celebrate your students. So student success will come when people identify students as individuals, not as good for nothing, which I was. I don't know. I always felt that, people, but one person who always motivated me was my dad, who always used to say, you can do it. I was very bad in maths. Maths was not my cup of tea. So, but he said, maths is not the only subject you can take. English, you're good at it. And see what I am today. So, each and every student is an individual. Let's realize that. Take it as that. Take it as that. Not all 5 fingers of your palm are the same. We have differences. So, let's identify those differences.
So, thank you for sharing about your parent involvement in shaping up your personality, Miss Mary. In continuation of that point, ma'am, what are some effective ways to involve parents and guardians in supporting student success?
A very good question. I have grown up children, so I don't know how much I have been responsible for their student success. I don't think so. These days, students are children are much advanced. So they know what they have to do. If you ask a grade 8 student today, where do you see yourself from 5 years now? They have their, everything is literally, they've written it down. This is what I'm going to do. And I did ask them, like, suppose if this is not open, they said, ma'am, we have a plan B, we have a plan C, we have till Z, they have plans. We didn't have it. These days, children, that's what I say, just give them space. Please give them space. Understand them. Try to value them and support them. Support them. Many teachers, having conducted sessions, I have realized teachers, we have to be flexible. We do not follow the gospel book, the B.Ed book these days. Then the pandemic, everything would have been there, no? So each and every student is important. Each and every student for me is successful. I find a celebrity in everyone. I find a cricketer in everyone. I find a doctor in a child. I find a psychologist in children. They immediately when you're on screen, they'll say, ma'am, you're not okay today. That is, how did the child come to know ma'am was not good? So I find they're all successful. All my students, all our students are successful. Thus, we are all successful teachers, I would say.
Your
Ma'am,
next
I
teacher.
want to ask one question.
Yes, please go
Tell me.
ahead.
May I?
Please, ma'am, go ahead.
Uh, there is a child, even I'm a teacher, there is a one child who doesn't take interest in writing or reading. He's very, very means below average. What should I do to cope him up? I tried many ways, making him sit beside me and taking him, giving him some time and making him to read and all. But he doesn't have that much only time he studies in my session. But home, when he goes, it's the same thing. So can
All
you
right.
guide me something?
Yeah, I think it is Victorious ma'am, right?
Yeah,
Or is it Nima ma'am?
yeah.
All right. Ma'am, so the child is not good in reading and the child is not good in writing. All right. How did you know?
Yeah.
Now you may. Now I'm sure you're in an you're in an offline school probably, so you made the child sit next to you. Have you seen what the child is good in otherwise? Reading and writing, of course, these are essential, but the child may be having, he must be good in narrating stories. Ask the child to speak out. If you're going to ask the child to read, I was very bad in reading when I was in grade 4 and grade 5. If you're asking the child to read, probably reading in public, like I was conscious, the child is not comfortable. If you're going to ask the child to come and write something, the child is not confident. See what the child is good at. Talk to the parents. How can we collaborate as a family to get this child out of this thing? I'm 100% sure, and many of you will agree to me, that children, not good in one thing is definitely good in something else. So the child has to be good somewhere, not good. We can work on this, It's not something it's not a dead end there. Talk to the parents, find out what does the child do in his free time, his or her free time. What does the child, what does the child like to do? Does the child use his or her hand to create something? Is the child good at cooking, helping, cleaning the house? We can find something positive there and try to channelize that. Tell the class one day, oh, no, all right, this particular child, for example, let's say Raju, he cooked something yesterday. He is actually watched a movie and he would share that movie, with the class. Make him feel important. The child has to feel. Let me tell you, I have seen this with my experience. The child will withdraw. But if you give the child responsibility, the child will be accountable for whatever the child is doing. Try this out. Just erase everything. The child is not able to read. The child is not able to write. Write. Erase it. Take the child as a new entry and see how we can work on it. I'm sure, definitely, ma'am, you will be able to achieve it. Definitely. I told you,
Yeah.
I have, and I very proudly say, I have Kea Hatkar, who is you can just Google Kea Hatkar, Keaya, and Hatkar. She's an SMA student, currently grade 8. I met her in grade 6. She was the first student who welcomed me at 21K school, which is totally an online school. I have seen a transformation in Kea, who's still bound to the wheelchair, from where she was in grade 6 to grade 8, where now she's conducting TED Talks, talking in the she talked in the chamber, some commerce chamber in Mumbai, where we had various bankers were there. She talked to them. She was conducted a talk there. That child whom people thought she'll be confined to the chair is now shining everywhere. Each and every child has a potential. Same way as I think each and every teacher here, including me, we have potentials. Definitely.
Thank you, Miss Mary.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
That ends the Q&A session. Thank you for the talk and
Welcome.
complete
God
answers
bless.
all the questions. Ma'am, we also thank the audience for participating in the event, and we will end the session now, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pravina. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Liz. Thank you, everyone. Bhavans, thank you. God bless everyone. Vinci, thank you.